Hi everybody, it's me. It's Amy Caroline. It's Amy Caroline. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos and the vlogs I made this morning and this afternoon. It is time for some more ghost train stories. It's time for some more ghost train stories. I'm gonna read two and then take a break and come back and read some more. I'm gonna read two. It is time for some more ghost train stories. The first one I'm gonna read is called, the first one I'm gonna read is called, Ghost Train of Mare, Arizona. Ghost Train of Mare, Arizona. Anyway, Ghost Train of Mare, Arizona is about a ghost train also. So without further ado, Ghost Train of Mare, Arizona. Often confused with the ghost train of the Arizona desert is the tale of the Mare, Arizona ghost train. The story is one of the oddest and most complicated of America's ghost train legends. During 1893, the small mining town of Mare, Arizona was shaken by the passage of an ore train rumbling through town on its way to a nearby smelter. Folks didn't think much about it until someone noticed the train had no engine. It was a runaway. Nearby stations were warned by telegraph. A few hours later, though, the train rumbled back through town in the opposite direction. Mare set in a desperation, in a depression compared to the surrounding terrain, and it looked like the train was seesawing back and forth, running out of town in one direction until gravity stopped it, then reversing course and going back the other way. The train soon came back through for a third pass at Mare just when residents thought the train might roll on forever. A couple of old railroaders caught the train and braked it to a stop. The train halted on the tracks just outside of town. Stations up and down the line were notified, but no one could figure out where the train came from. After sitting in Mare for days, the train disappeared one night. The townspeople couldn't understand it. No one saw the train leave. No one heard a chuffing steam engine. Finally, an old miner came up with a far-fetched explanation. In 1871, he recalled 22 miners escaped a flood in the Iron King mine by packing themselves onto a mine train engine. Number 22, they uncoupled the locomotive and chugged out of the mine just as it filled with water. So the old miner said 22 years ago, number 22 took 22 men out of the mine without a train. Now 22 years later, had old number 22 return as a train without an engine. Unfortunately, no one had counted to see if The vanished train was 22 cars long. Was the old miner right? Did the rescuing train engine did the rescuing engine return as a ghost train 22 years later? So according to this story, the Mare, Arizona ghost train was returning as a ghost train 22 years later. And as one of the miners said, he recalled 22 miners escaped the flood in the Iron King mine by packing themselves onto a mine train engine number 22. They uncoupled the locomotive and chugged out of the mine just as it filled with water. So the old miner said 22 years ago, number 22 took 22 men out of the mine without a train. Now, 22 years later, had old number 22 returned as a train without an engine? Unfortunately, no one had counted to see if the vanished train was 22 cars long. So yeah, after sitting in Mare for days, the train disappeared one night, and so yeah. So he saw a ghost train. He saw it disappear that night. He saw it vanish. He saw it vanish. He saw it vanish. He saw it vanish though. So yeah. He saw it that night. So it was returning as a ghost train. So yeah, it was returning as a ghost train, as it says here. Did the rescuing engine return as a ghost train 22 years later? Well, yes, it did. I mean, according to him, it did. So yeah. So according to this story and according to him, it did. So yeah, it was returning a lot every night, anyway, this takes place back in the 1890s and in 1893, in a small mining town of Mare, Arizona, like it says. So yeah, that's where it takes place at, is Mare, Arizona. So according to this, hopefully this will be on the Travel Channel and the Discovery Channel and the History Channel. Hopefully one day it will. Hopefully this will be a TV season episode on the Discovery Channel and the Travel Channel and the History Channel one day too, just like the other ones that I've read. So yeah, hopefully this will be too. So yeah. So Ghost Train of Mare, Arizona. Now I'm going to read another story. I'm going to read another story right now. Okay. So this one is called Phantom Track Layers at Sinks of Dove Creek. Phantom Track Layers at Sinks of Dove Creek. So, Sinks of Dove Creek is the site of an old Central Pacific labor camp once used by the Chinese workers who built the first Transcontinental Railroad across California, Nevada, and Utah. During the late 1970s, a park ranger was participating in a historic reenactment at Sinks of Doves Creek. The ranger and his friends were dressed in Ontonatic Army uniforms like those used by the 21st Entry, the Army unit assigned to protect the Central Pacific workers back in the 1860s. The ranger had to 5 a.m. guard duty at the reenactment camp. He patrolled back and forth along the abandoned Central Pacific grade running above the encampment. The other men were all asleep. Dying campfires flickered below, reflecting off the encampments tents. The guard found himself thinking how time was almost reserved, and how everything looked just as it must have during the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. That's when he heard the sound of a muff wore off in the distance. Suddenly a far-off light like that of a kerosene lantern appeared, swinging side to side across the old grade. As it got closer, the ranger could make the whirring out more clearly. It sounded like a steam engine approaching him down the old grade, although there was nothing to be seen. Then it was running right over him. The ranger couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't see it, couldn't feel it, but he could hear the old steam engine as clearly as if it was 1869 again. Rattled by the uncanny experience, the ranger made his way back to camp. He sat huddled in front of a fire near the tents, trying to calm himself down. Finally, he decided to stay out his guard duty no matter what happened. He walked back onto the old Central Pacific grade. This time, his experience was different. He was surrounded by whispers and soft footsteps, overcoming his fear enough to listen closely. The ranger realized the voices were speaking in Chinese. One word he kept hearing was a Melikane. The hair rose on his neck and arms when he realized the invisible Central workers, Pacific workers, were talking about him. The ranger thought about the sounds. He knew that the soldiers of the 21st Infantry had protected Chinese workers in this very camp. Had the reenactment turned back the page of time in some way? The ranger shook his head. Then consider it again on the ghostly noise all around him. He heard railroad work sounds, the dual thuds of spike being hammered into ties, the soft footsteps of Chinese workers and the heavy tread of Anglos. Um, um, as he looked down the grade, the ranger saw an eerie sight. The grade was covered with pinpricks of light. As he watched the spectacle, he realized the lights must be sparks glancing from spikes and rails as the ghostly workers hammered down the Central Pacific track. An event that happened 110 years before. After his experience, the ranger became fascinated with the history of the Sinks of Dove Creek area, which is near Kelton, Utah, and the Golden Spike National Historic Site. He talked with people who hunt in the area and learned that they knew of the ghostly workers, that he wasn't the only person who ever witnessed the phenomena. Many people were reluctant to use the dirt road that follows the old grade. They believed the ghost train might run them down. Others had heard the voices of the phantom workers. The ranger even unearthed stories old railroad engineers told about the time when the track running by Sinks of Dove Creek was still in use. Engineers had heard ghost trains coming toward them on their runs through the desert near Sinks of Dove Creek. Some of the ghost trains had even carried lights unnerving the train crews, who would prepare for a terrible collision. When the real train made its emergency stop, the other train would keep coming despite effort to warn it. Then the ghost train would pass right over the real train, headlight blaring and engine sound puffing away, and disappear off into the desert night. The ranger examined the encampment too and realized that the men doing the reenactment had camped right on top of an old Chinese work camp. The dugouts that had served as the bottoms of the Chinese workers of the Chinese laborers, huts were right there when the ranger looked throughout the dugouts. The hair on his neck and arms stood up again. He could feel the ghost workers there. What trick of time keeps the ghost workers struggling with spikes and rails at the Sinks of Dove Creek labor camp? So according he kept on hearing voices when he was at camp at Sinks of Dove Creek. He kept on hearing voices, and he kept on hearing the voices of the Chinese workers, and he kept on hearing the voices of the Chinese workers, some of the ghost trains have even carried lights uncovering train crews and would prepare for a terrible collision. When the real train made its emergency stop, the other train would keep coming despite effort to warn it. Then the ghost train would pass right over the real train, headlight blaring and engine sound puffing away, and disappear off into the desert night. So that's how it would do. That's how it would do. And also, he kept on hearing voices. He kept on hearing voices when he was at Sinks of Doves Creek and stuff like that. So, when the track, the ranger, when the track running by Sinks of Dove Creek was still in use, engineers had also heard some ghost trains coming towards them on their runs through the desert near Sinks of Dove Creek. So yeah, Dove Creek is still being used, but ghost trains still travel through there. And at that campsite where the ranger was, he was hearing voices. He was hearing the voices of the Chinese workers while he was at camp. So yeah, that is the story. And this was during and like it said right here, the ranger was at the campsite. The park ranger was participating in a reenactment at Sinks of Dove Creek during the late 1970s. So yeah. So yeah, that's the story right there. So anyway, I also Sinks of Dove Creek is actually, like it said, it's in California, Nevada, and Utah. Railroad cross across California, Nevada, and Utah. And I hope this will be on the Travel Channel also, and the Discovery Channel, and the History Channel also. I hope it will be. And I also hope that it will be a season episode on the Travel Channel and the Discovery Channel and the History Channel one day too. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to come back and read a story later on. I'm going to take a break, but I hope you guys enjoyed that story. And I hope you guys enjoyed all these stories, and hopefully these will be season episodes on the Travel Channel and the Discovery Channel and the History Channel one day with Ghost Train. So, hopefully the TV company and the Travel Channel company and the History Channel company, can put it on there, okay? So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these stories. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell for more notifications, and happy haunting, happy haunted travels and happy ghost hunting to you guys. And I will see you guys later for more ghost train stories later on this afternoon. Okay, bye everybody. Bye.